Coming up today on My Retirement Clarity, we got a mailbag edition of the show. Got some great questions that have come in that we're going to work through with Lee right up now. Coming up next.
Welcome to the My Retirement Clarity podcast, where our goal is simple, to help you close the gap between what you know and what you implement. The team at Perkins Wealth Management does this by helping good people make great decisions so they can enjoy an amazing retirement. And now, here's your host and financial advisor, Lee Perkins.
Welcome in. This is My Retirement Clarity. I'm the George Lee Perkins of JL Perkins Wealth Management. Lee, you guys have settled into a new office. How's the move going?
Yeah, it's really good, man. We are so blessed to be in this space, and we're excited about all of our clients seeing it, and even the prospects of our firm that come see it. I think they're going to be wowed by it and kind of blown away, and it's something we're proud of. I think I said on an earlier episode, this facility has not been a lifelong dream of mine. This was kind of a dream that came into focus within the last year, and then we just kind of moved really quick on it. But yeah, we're excited about it and glad that we are finally here. And I think, we might have 2 or 3 other pieces of furniture that we're waiting on. Outside of that, man, we're ready to rock and roll.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on the new move. I know
Thank you.
You guys have put a lot of time and effort into it, and I know it'll be exciting to kind of see and spend some time in. So that'd be good. And you got a new media room, so we're recording podcasts from there, and I know it's going to be nice and convenient for you guys to work and maybe have some other advisor voices on the show as well going forward.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. I've already recorded another show with Brian, one of our advisors here, and we got some other folks lined up. So I think it's going to be a real value add to our listeners.
I love it. Well, you can always get in touch. Go to talkwithjlp.com to schedule a time to meet with Lee and the team there, and check out the new building when you get a chance. But we got a good mailbag episode to get into today. A bunch of questions that came in, some different scenarios that we want to work through today with Lee. Let's just jump right in, Lee, with this first one. My parents have come to the realization that they're not going to spend all of their money, so instead of leaving us a big inheritance, they're going to start gifting us some money now. We've been doing a good job of saving for our own retirement, and we don't have any debt. So what's our best use for this money? Our kids are 11 and 13. Should we just put it aside for college for them? All right, Lee, what do you think?
What you're experiencing there is what we've seen more and more people experience over probably the last 2 or 3 years. People are really realizing that they've got way more money than they're ever going to spend, and so rather than just dying and leaving it behind when they're gone and they don't get to see the benefits of it, they're wanting to pass that money along while they're still alive. It's kind of like we said on the show before, like John Maxwell said, start giving while you're living so you're knowing where it's going. And I love that statement. And so we're starting to see people do that. But for this question, it's kind of a catch-22 because people are giving, I can go back to my parents. They've started really giving me and my brother some money from their RMDs, things that they don't need, probably 3 years ago. And it really comes at a time, honestly, where we don't really need the money. So what we did, we used that to fund Roth IRAs for our kids because we didn't really have necessarily a need for that money. The person that wrote in with this question, if you don't have any debt, that's congratulations. And I don't know how old you are, but you got an 11, 13-year-old kid, so I can kind of guess how old you are. But man, the fact that you don't have any debt at this point is fantastic. So kudos to you.
Yep.
Setting aside for college for them, yeah, you absolutely could do that. How you do that is going to be completely up to you, whether you use something that's more structured like a 529 plan. You could certainly do that. I love a Roth IRA for younger kids. It gives them a little bit more flexibility. Now, the laws have changed in the last few years that have given parents a little more flexibility in how they use a 529 and some of the options that can happen if the kids wind up not going to college. So yeah, you could certainly set aside some of the money for college, but it doesn't have to all be for college. When they're 16, they're probably going to come to you hounding you about a vehicle. So maybe you put aside a little bit for maybe a car and maybe a little bit more for college. So it's completely up to you. If you don't need the money and you want to bless your kids, or even, for some families, even their grandkids with, man, do that. It's whatever you want to do and whatever works best for you and your family.
Yeah, good position to be in. I know when you said you're seeing more and more, I think, with parents helping out kids and using that money now while people can experience it and actually benefit from it, and you can see that. So good position to be in. But again, this is one of those when you sit down and let an advisor look through your whole situation and kind of say what the best option is for you. But a good question. All right. Second one up here, Lee. I've never been in a hurry to pay off debt. I've never paid extra on my mortgage, never paid cash for a car, and I use my home equity line fairly often for major purchases that I need to make. I know that debt is generally considered bad, but it seems to me that using debt has allowed me to save money for retirement that I wouldn't have been able to save otherwise. So am I missing something here?
Yeah, I don't think you're missing something. I don't think Dave Ramsey would probably approve of that strategy. And we've talked multiple times on the show about Dave Ramsey's stance on debt. I'm not as anti-debt as Dave is. I don't mind your strategy at all, especially if you feel like it has allowed you to set aside some money for retirement. Because, lots of people get to the end of their working career and sure wish that they would have set aside more for retirement. If in your mind, carrying a little bit of debt here and there allowed you to free up enough money to save towards retirement, as long as the interest rate on that debt wasn't too high, where you were kind of going backwards, I think it's not a bad strategy at all. Now, I think there's good debt and there's bad debt. To me, good debt are things that don't go down in value. A mortgage, a house generally is not going to go down in value. I don't think a car debt is great debt because you're borrowing money on a depreciating asset. Years ago, you could go and buy almost any car and get 0% financing. And I'm a big fan of borrowing money at no interest.
Yeah.
But that kind of went away a little bit after COVID. But you're starting to see several of the manufacturers start to offer very low or no interest on buying cars. And man, I'm a big fan of that because it then becomes just a math question. If I can borrow money at 1% or 3% and money, I could then put money in my retirement account and hopefully get more than 1 to 3%, you're going to win that game all day, every day.
Yeah, that's a great position to be in for sure. I know it's all about discipline with that, right? I mean, there's definitely ways to utilize it and benefit from it, but also it can get you in trouble.
Yeah, you got to be disciplined. I would tell you, don't do that strategy and use credit cards because that's that is not a good plan because credit cards lots of times, those interest rates can be very, very high. I know people do the rotating zero balance transfers, but man, if you miss one payment or a little bit late, and sometimes those things are a little bit out of your control, they can go back and hit you up for some big time interest, and you don't want to put yourself in that position.
Yeah, you're right. Just missing one of those payments, or just making one mistake could be enough to cost you worse, not worth it at all. So, credit card is definitely a little bit different story. All right, good question there on debt. Again, if you want to follow up, talkwithjlp.com.
Hey folks, Lee Perkins here. I wanted to tell you about our brand new book called Next Phase: How to Retire in a Year or Less Without Regrets. It's all about helping you prepare for the next phase of your life, whatever that looks like for you. So, if you're ready to make the most of your next phase, or if you're already retired and aren't sure you're doing all you can to get the most out of your retirement, then you'll want a copy of this book. All you have to do is text Next Phase to 478-475-2050 and we'll send you a copy right away. You can also access additional resources and register for one of our upcoming workshops at our website, www.myretirementclarity.com. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
All right, here's our next question, Lee. I've been working at a tech startup for the last 4 years. Started slow, but we've been getting huge bonuses lately. I'm already maxing out my 401k and feel that I have plenty saved for retirement. I'm not sure what to do with this extra cash. How can I be smart about this?
Man, you're in an enviable position, and I think a lot of our listeners would love to be in that. And I've actually run across some people that are in this exact same position. And with those startups, it can be a little bit up and down, but when it's good, those bonuses can come, and you want to be smart with them. So I would tell you, you want to make sure, if you've already maxed out, retirement accounts, make sure that you have two savings accounts. One that is, truly for emergencies, and the other one that is an account that's for trips, or stuff. That's the two accounts that I tell everybody that comes in the office that I want them to have. Outside of that, you feel like you've got enough money in retirement, you could put it in a brokerage account, just in a general investment account that has no contribution limits, and that money, depending on how you invest it, it can be liquid, but it can grow depending on how you invest it, and that can give you the freedom to do some additional things in the future. Again, depending on your time horizon and what you want to do. But if you've got a bunch of extra money, then heck yeah, let's invest that money and put it to work for you. And it can wind up being a blessing for you in the future. And even though right now you think, well, I probably have plenty saved for retirement. Ben, I've never met anybody that said, Lee, I think I saved too much money. I wish I wouldn't have saved as much. Now, I meet people that eventually reach the point to where they say, hey, there's no way we're going to spend all the money that we have. But you want to be in that spot rather than saying, boy, I wish I would have started saving earlier, or I wish I would have saved more, or I wish I wouldn't have bought this or wouldn't have bought that. You don't want to second guess yourself and be on the bottom side of that equation. I think you're in a good spot, but just be smart about it.
Yeah, just having that extra flexibility later on can be so beneficial, right? So just having more saved is never a bad thing. All right, next question here, Lee. I just started a new job, and I'm told I can roll the 401k at my old company into the 401k at my new company. Should I do this so that I have everything into one place?
Man, these are really good questions, and I almost feel like this is just like a general day that I go through in life, because when I run into people in, at restaurants and the grocery store, friends that I know, that they know what I do for a living, they always want to ask me, hey, I got a quick question. They'll ask me some of these things. So This is really good. My generic answer or general answer to this is, if I'm starting a new job and I got a new 401k, I am not going to roll my old 401k into that. Why is that? Well, because once you have money in a 401k plan, you are subject to the rules and regulations of that 401k plan. Generally speaking, when you leave a job, I think your money should leave that job too.
Okay.
Now, there are a few caveats. If you are close to retirement, let's say you're above 55, because there's something magic that happens at 55 that a lot of people aren't aware of. If you change jobs and you're 57 or 58 years old, I might leave, or you retire altogether, I might leave some money behind in that 401k just for potential future access without a 10% penalty. But that's something we would have to talk specifically about your situations, because there's some moving parts that can make that either true or not true. But generally speaking, no, I would roll that money into an IRA that you control. You select the investments, or you partner with an advisory firm like ours that can help you, select the investments, or be as conservative or as aggressive that you want to be. Also, when you have money in a 401k and you go to take a distribution, man, you really give up control over taxes inside that account, because anytime you want to take a distribution from that account, it is an automatic mandatory 20% withholding for federal taxes, no matter what bracket you're in. So you could be in the 15, or you could be in the 10% bracket, and if you want to take out some money, they're going to withhold 20%. Now you'll wind up getting that money back at tax time, but they're going to over withhold. And frankly, most places won't allow you to address state taxes from a 401k distribution. When you're doing those same distributions from an IRA, you just have much more flexibility and ability to pay the taxes when you want to pay the taxes. So I'd just like you to roll that money to an IRA, whether it's with our firm or with somewhere else. Again, inside an IRA, you can invest in whatever you want. When you're in a 401k, you are at the mercy of the funds that they have available in that plan.
And two, Lee, that's the decision you can't go back on, right? So if you roll that money from an old account into your new employer's 401k, you can't roll that money back out somewhere else, right?
No, most of the time you can't, unless you reach certain age and milestones. But yeah, most time you can't do that. So Just talk with a professional before you do that, and know the provisions, of which are all provisions in the new plan, before you decide to do that. We meet with people pretty regularly that have done that, and they can't undo it, and they wish they wouldn't have done it, but they made a rash decision, just because they felt like it was an easy thing to do. Let's fill out this one-page form, and it'll just go from the old plan to the new plan. That was easy, but it wasn't always the right thing to do.
All right, very good. Again, you go talkwithjlp.com to get on Lee's calendar, discuss any of these things directly with him. All right, another one here, but for parents that are a little bit older, like myself, Lee, I'm maybe fall in this category. I had kids later in life, so this question's great for those and myself. I had kids later in life than most people, so I have college payments competing with retirement decisions. Which thing should I place a higher priority on, their education or my retirement? It's a tough one for parents.
Yeah, this really is. And this also has, my answer is going to depend on how old this person is, how old their kids are, and all those kind of things. Generally speaking, I'm going to tell you that your retirement should be the priority. Reason being is you've got a very limited time for you to earn money, to be at your job, or to save and all those kind of things. Your child, private elementary school or high school, or if we're talking about saving for college, they have way much more time. Student loans are not the devil. Student loans, if done properly, can be a good thing, and for a lot of families, that is the right choice to make. What you don't want to do, and I see this all the time, because we all love our kids, and we want our kids to have better than us, and to basically have options that we didn't have. We sacrifice our retirement sometimes too much, or more than we should, for an education of a minor child, or not necessarily a minor child, of our children. A lot of times I see this in college. You promise to give your kid, or not promise, you kind of make the agreement that, hey, I'm going to pay for 4 years of college. Well, all of a sudden that kid decides they want to do a victory lap, and that 4 years, like me, I was able to squeeze a 4-year degree into 5 years. And my parents, they kind of, they swallowed the pill and paid for it. But I did not decide to go to medical school and throw on more and more years of education and burden my parents with that. That happens all the time. You don't have to pay for that stuff. The kids are, they're resourceful. They can get loans, and they can do other things to pay for the college. Now, if you can pay for it, man, I'm all for that. I want my kids, like I said earlier, to have more than I did, and just be better off than I was at that age. But man, it's not an obligation.
Yeah,
it's not an obligation.
Absolutely. All right, got one more, Lee. Let's tackle this one. Now that we're empty nesters, we don't need a 5-bedroom house, but my wife wants to stay. Would it be financially irresponsible to stay in a house that's so much bigger than what we need?
Good question. I don't know that I can really answer that, because I don't know if it's a financially irresponsible thing to do, because I don't know your financial situation. If you can afford it, then that's fine. You're okay to stay there. I think typically what happens is I think people just think in general, hey, when you're empty nesters and kids are gone, and you got this big house that you had 2 or 3 or 4 kids in, everybody's gone, we don't really need that house anymore, so let's downsize. The problem with that today, and specifically because of housing prices, you could downsize and get rid of that 5-bedroom house, and you could buy a 3-bedroom house, and you go from a 4,000 square foot house to a 2,000 square foot house, and you could pay the exact same money for that. So that has to factor into the equation. Things that you do want to think about, depending on the size of that house, is it a single-story house? Upstairs, downstairs? What you don't want is to be in your 70s and even 80s and have to deal with stairs on a daily basis. That would be, to me, that's more of a reason to sell the house and get into something that's 1 story. You just don't want to deal with stairs. And Pam and I built our dream house coming up on 4 years ago. It's a 1-story house. Now there is a basement that we cannot access from the main floor. I'm planning on being old in this house, Ben. So if I want to go to the basement, I can hop in a golf cart and ride around and walk right into the basement.
Love it.
And there is one bedroom upstairs in this house. And there's nothing that I need up there. It is basically a guest bedroom when Pam and I are too old to go up there anymore. Right now it's almost kind of like a sitting room, and when the kids come over, they'll watch a movie, sit on the couch up there, watch a movie. Pam has a treadmill up there, and even some sewing equipment. At some point, we're not going up those stairs, and I get it, but that was the plan. Just plan to be old and know that at some point you're not going to be able to do some of the things that you can do right now, and just think through that.
Yeah, and too, I mean, you might downsize and still be paying the same amount for a home, depending on what your mortgage rate is and what you paid for it and everything. So,
and if you have a house payment now, or don't have a house payment now, and you're going to downsize, definitely you don't want to pick up a house payment for it to be in a smaller house. That's not wise. But I'll tell you, that happens almost every day. It really does.
All right, very good. Well, some great questions, and ones again that Lee addresses with clients on a day-to-day basis. And if you have anything on your mind that you want to run by him, please feel free to reach out, schedule that complimentary opportunity to talk with Lee by going to talkwithjlp.com. Again, talkwithjlp.com. All right, we'll get out of here on that note. Appreciate you listening to My Retirement Clarity. Check out the new office if you haven't already. And Lee, enjoy yourself. We'll talk to you again pretty soon.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Hey there, Lee Perkins here. If you're like a lot of folks, you've been listening to this podcast for a long time now. But I've got an important question for you. Have you implemented any of the ideas that we've discussed on the show? If you haven't, what are you waiting on? You know you're not getting any younger. So here's my challenge. Don't just consume the content. Our number one goal for this podcast is to help you close the gap between what you know and what you implement. So if you're ready to implement, take that first step today and visit www.talkwithjlp.com and schedule a 15-minute phone call with one of our advisors, and we'll help you close the gap between what you know and what you implement so you can enjoy the next phase of your life. Now is your time. Don't procrastinate any longer.
Investment advisory services are offered by J.L. Perkins Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor and insurance agency. Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, legal, or investment advice. Always consult with a qualified tax, legal, or investment professional before taking any action.